Right now, peak season is just beginning for America's national parks, but some of the most iconic destinations are either closed or making major cuts because of the Trump administration's layoff.
MSNBC wouldn't let me stitch this video like normal, but I'm here to tell you the facts, and these facts will give you some hints if you want to visit these national parks, because this is definitely some rage baiting by MSNBC, and they know it. They know that the angrier you are, the more of their media you will consume and the more money they make. Whereas I'm a non-monetized channel, and I have some experience. I am a national park tour guide. I don't work for the national parks. I do work for private companies, which I will not be naming. And these private companies have me leading groups of people through multiple national parks on various tours that often cross state lines. And so I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I'm not here to talk about the budget cuts. I'm here to talk about the facts. And the first fact is that I do not have experience with Carlsbad Caverns or Great Smoky Mountains, so I cannot address the issues that were brought up in the MSNBC news report. I do have experience with Arches, Zion, and Yosemite, and so I will talk about those three parks. So we'll talk about Zion first, since that was mentioned in the news report first. Bumper to bumper traffic trying to get into Zion National Park. Absolutely, especially on the weekends. Every single weekend, there is some kind of a line, and on the holiday weekends, if you're waiting less than an hour, you got lucky. That's normal. It's a 2-lane highway to get in and out of Zion, going through the town of Springdale. There is absolutely no intention of them widening that road. It's going to stay a 2-lane highway. It's been like that for decades. It will remain that way. In 1990, the traffic going into the park got so bad that they installed a shuttle service. Hello, 1990. It's been like this for decades. There is a limited amount of parking at the visitor center, and unless you are staying and have a reservation for proof at the lodge in the middle of the canyon, you're not allowed to drive up the main Zion Canyon. You must park at the visitor center and go on the shuttle and go take the shuttle to the trailheads. So when the parking lot is absolutely full, the park does not allow people into the park anymore. The Park Service will turn you around at the gate. So that means on the holiday weekends, when it is the busiest, you might wait an hour and a half getting through that line through town to get to the entry gate just to be turned around. And then you have to do something that I recommend you do in the first place, and that is park in the town of Springdale, take the town shuttle to the gate, walk over the bridge, walk over Zion's Virgin River, and go in through the walk-in entry gate, and from there, make your way to the canyon shuttle and take the canyon shuttle to the trailhead. That's the way to do it, folks. It's been like that for decades. Next, we're going to talk about Arches National Park. Arches National Park is up in Moab, and they mentioned that due to budget cuts, they won't be changing the garbage cans and cleaning the bathrooms as frequently. Arches is a pretty remote park. Yes, it's just outside of Moab. The entry is about 15 minutes outside of Moab, but then you have to go up this really long road, and it's not as big as, say, Canyonlands, but it's still really remote. And what I want to talk about Arches is something that the Park Service has been wanting people to do more and more anyway, because our visitation rates just keep growing each year. And that is, take your trash with you. Even in a place like Arches, where the town of Moab is relatively nearby, they still have to go out into the hot desert and truck all of your waste and trash many miles to get to the city dump. And there are millions upon millions of people visiting these parks each year. It isn't so much the trash. It is the volume of trash because of the volume of visitors. So if you can take your trash out with you and deposit it at the dumpster at your hotel room, you're going to be doing your public lands a service. So this is something that even before the budget cuts, the parks were wishing that people would do, but no one listens, because this kind of a talk is going to be labeled as a Karen talk. And, the root word of Karen is cares. And sometimes Karens misplace their care, but this MSNBC news report is trying to drum up sympathy about the parks, because it's preying on people's desire, and caring nature. So if you really care about your park, regardless of whether or not they're cutting the budgets, you should take more of your own waste out. Finally, we're going to talk about Yosemite. And in the news report, it talks about something related to the budget cuts means that we're having timed entry. That's so backwards, because before the peak season started, there was rumors that they would not have timed entry. And when they announced they were going to have timed entry for this season, I was elated. If you've ever been to Yosemite National Park, in the years prior to the installation or implementation of timed entry, you would know that you can sometimes wait hours, like 4 hours, just to get into Yosemite Valley, let alone try to get out. Once again, just like in Zion, there are 2-lane highways and roads getting in and out of Yosemite. 2 lanes, 1 lane each way. They are not going to change that. It's been like that for decades. And so I had this idea in my mind when I first started working as a tour guide, that if the companies that I work for wanted me to go to Yosemite, I was actually going to turn them down, because I was traumatized by having to wait in line for so long, waiting for hours, stuck in your vehicle, idling, stuck with everybody else, not being able to go anywhere. You're stuck. You can't turn around. It's all a one-way loop through Yosemite. There's one place where you can turn around halfway, but you can still wait hours just to get to that area where you can turn around. And you might still wait hours just to get out. When they started using a timed entry for Yosemite, it was like a weight lifted off of me, because I knew that I could get in and out of Yosemite without a problem. And ever since they've implemented the timed entry, it's made it a lot nicer. Look, if you want to go to Yosemite, you have to get there after 2 p.m. if you can't get a reservation. Does that mean you have less time there because the sun's going down? Yes, but you would have less time to enjoy the park if you were waiting for 4 hours to get in anyway. So the timed entry is actually a big relief, and it's something that they've been doing for the last few years, and it is a huge relief. It is welcomed by frequent visitors such as us tour guides. At the end of that news report, it talked about Evergreen Lodge. Now, I personally have not ever stayed at Evergreen Lodge, but I know that they are managed by this very large company, Aramark, and Aramark has a poor reputation for taking care of the lodges inside of Yosemite. I did a quick Google search, and Evergreen apparently is in good repair, but there is a pretty bad reputation for how the Yosemite lodges are taken care of in general. And so it could just be the fact that one of the other lodges had parts of the roof, interior, the ceiling, fell and injured one of its employees. I would hazard to say that the parks services concessions, which are all managed by Aramark inside of Yosemite, they have a bad reputation. And so perhaps that bad reputation is rubbing off on Evergreen. Like I said, I personally haven't stayed at Evergreen, so I don't know. But I do know that Aramark is not doing very good. It is a third-party company that is contracted with the National Park Service in order to operate the concessions. So that's how all of our national parks are. They're all that way. The concessions are not affected by the budget cuts, but they are run by for-profit corporations who make cuts where they can too. Anyway, those are the facts from my personal experience. I hope you have a good visit to your next national park. Cheers.